Well, hi there everyone. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I am making a recipe for shepherd's pie as a meal in a jar. It's a just add water recipe, and y'all, it's so yummy. This is based on my mom's recipe for shepherd's pie. I think this is really cottage pie because there's not lamb in here. I'm using ground beef, so it's probably really a cottage pie. But anyway, it's like a beefy, veggie, gravy-filled saucy bottom, and then a mashed potato topping. And I'm putting some cheese in the mashed potatoes, so it's going to be really super yummy. My seasonings this time are really pretty simple. There's several of them, but I think you probably have most of those seasonings in your pantry. If you don't have the Worcestershire powder, then you can just add fresh Worcestershire sauce when you make this. Let me show you how I put it together. I needed 4 servings, so I'm using a quart-sized jar. You could totally cut this down to 2 servings and put this in a pint-sized jar. I like the beef if it's been pulsed in the blender and broken up a bit. I don't like the pellets that it comes in the can, so I always put it in the blender, and the texture's much better. I like the mouth feel better. The seasonings I'm going to put in with the beef are seasonings that I want to dry saute when I cook this. I'll show you. It's not complicated. It's really easy to do, but these are the seasonings that you're going to put in with your beef, and we'll cook them in some oil for just a couple of minutes to bring out the flavor, and then we'll add the vegetables, okay? I like to keep the vegetables separate here. I put them in a plastic baggie so we can add them later. All right, so I like in my shepherd's pie corn, peas, carrots, and onions, but it's totally up to you. Some people don't like corn in their shepherd's pie, so I mean, if you don't want that in there, just leave it out. I actually ran out of the chopped onions. I was at the very bottom of my can and I didn't want to open a new one, so I added some red onions with that. That's the Lighthouse brand of red onions, but you can just use all Thrive Life chopped onions there. I also am going to add a 1/4 cup of the Thrive Life Espanol sauce. If you don't have Thrive Life's Espanol sauce, I've got a copycat recipe on my channel. I'll link to that below for you. So you can seal up that baggie, put it in an oxygen absorber. I have room at the top of my jar. I mean, you could add some more vegetables in here if you want, or you could even try to put this in a smaller jar. It might work in a 24-ounce jar. All right, let's work on the mashed potatoes. This I am putting in a 24-ounce jar. It's 2 cups of the instant mashed potato flakes. You can use Thrive Life's or whatever brand you like. And then to that, I'm going to make the mashed potatoes delicious by adding some sauce powder. So I've got butter powder, sour cream powder, and you can either use milk powder or heavy cream powder. I've got heavy cream powder in here. So that's going to make the mashed potatoes nice and creamy. And then we need to season them up because it's just potato flakes that comes in that can. So you have to add the seasonings. I'm using salt, pepper, and then a little bit of garlic powder and some green onions. But it's totally up to you. Leave out the garlic powder if you don't like that. I am going to add cheddar and Parmesan into the mashed potatoes themselves. My mom always topped the mashed potatoes with the cheese, but I'm putting the cheese in the potatoes, and I blend it up first so it melts immediately when it hits the boiling water. There's my oxygen absorber. So there is my mashed potato jar right there with the cheese in it. So these are the 2 jars that you could store on your pantry shelf. And with those jars, you'll want to include the cooking instructions. And then when you're ready to prepare this, you'll need to get out a couple of different pans. I like to use a large skillet for the beef and then a medium pot for the mashed potatoes. First thing you do is you add some oil to the bottom of the skillet. A couple tablespoons of avocado oil or some sort of neutral flavored oil or butter. You could use butter. And go ahead and turn your heat on to medium. And then after your pan and your oil is good and hot, you'll open up your jar, set that veggie baggie to the side. We'll add that in a minute. First thing you want to add to the skillet is the beef mixture. Okay, so you've got seasonings down in there and the beef. And what I like to do is just dry saute these seasonings and that beef in the oil. And I call it dry saute just because it's freeze-dried ingredients and we haven't added the water yet. But what I'm really doing is sauteing those seasonings in the hot oil. A lot of them are fat soluble. The flavor just comes alive when they hit the heat and the oil. That will just bring out better flavor in your dish. After about 2 minutes, you need to add 3 cups of water, and then you can add the veggie baggie. If you just put all the vegetables in with the oil, I think they would just burn. So anyway, I like to keep them separate and add the veggies after I've added the water. Give that all a really good stir, and then you're going to want to bring this to a boil over probably about a medium heat. Meanwhile, you can get some water on to boil for the mashed potatoes. When your beef mixture has come to a boil, go ahead and give it another stir. Make sure nothing's sticking, and you can reduce that heat to probably medium-low. I left mine on a 4 out of 10 on my stove, and it needs to simmer for probably 10 to 15 minutes. I simmered mine for 15 minutes. All right, meanwhile, my mashed potato pan, the water back there has come to a boil, and I'm going to add my mashed potato jar to it. So I turned off the heat and in goes the contents of the jar. And all you need to do is stir it really well. And that's it. I mean, that is very simple. See why I blended the cheddar though? It's because it melts immediately when it hits that boiling water. If I hadn't blended the cheddar, it would not have enough time to refresh, and you would have crunchy bits of cheese in there. Now, you could always keep it separate and hydrate it separately, but this is the fastest and easiest way, and I like to do it this way. Okay, just put a lid on that and set it to the side. It's ready. And back to the filling. So it's been about 5 minutes of simmering with the lid off. You can tell that that sauce is thickening up, and I went ahead and I put a lid on this for the next 5 minutes just because I wanted to make sure that the corn and the peas and the beef had access to that liquid before it cooked off, to make sure that they were good and rehydrated. So I let that go for about 5 minutes with the lid on. And then I checked on it again and thought, yeah, that looks good. The peas look like they have plumped up, and the corn too. So I thought, yeah, that's probably enough time of having that lid on there. And then I simmered it for another 5 minutes or so. And this is kind of the thickness that I like for the filling of my shepherd's pie or my cottage pie. But that's up to you. If you want it thicker, just let it go a few more minutes. Go ahead and give it a taste. Adjust your seasonings. I thought mine was perfect. I didn't need to add anything. And then I went ahead and added this to a prepared casserole dish. That's an 8-inch casserole dish. It might be a 10-inch actually. We'll call it 9. A 9-inch casserole dish. And then you need to dollop your potatoes on the top of the filling. Now, y'all, this is where I messed up, okay? I looked at my potatoes and I thought, oh my gosh, they're too thick. And I added liquid to them, but I added too much. And then they were just kind of too liquidy. It was like, I shouldn't have done that. So don't be like me. Just leave it the way it is and it will be fine. Now, this tasted great, but it wasn't the texture that I had wanted. But anyway, you can kind of rough up the top of your potatoes and then stick those in the oven. You can either bake this at 375 for about 15 minutes, or you can broil it for 5 minutes. I mean, everything is cooked in there. I was in a hurry, so all I did was broil mine for 5 minutes because we needed to eat and go. The top will get nice and browned, and that Parmesan and the cheese that's in there helps it to just look so pretty. I went ahead and dished that up. Now, if you want a shepherd's pie or a cottage pie that is more like something that's drier and then you can slice it and put it on a dish, then you need to let your filling boil a little bit longer and just cook off some more of that liquid. And also just leave your potatoes alone and don't add the extra liquid to the potatoes. Also, if you bake it in the oven for about 15 minutes, it will dry out a little bit more. But y'all, this was absolutely delicious. Super, super tasty. I'm really thrilled with the way it came out. It is probably the best tasting filling for a shepherd's pie that I've ever had. Really, it's just that good. I hope y'all give this a try. I always leave my full recipe down in the description box below, as well as my shopping link in case you want to pick up any of these Thrive Life ingredients. I'll put that in the box below. I hope you can tell that I love doing this. I love sharing my recipes with y'all, and I hope y'all are able to see that eating from your food stores does not have to be boring and it doesn't have to be bland. This is the kind of food that you can serve to company or make on a weeknight because it's really easy, it's fast, and it's just delicious. All right, guys, let me know what y'all think in the comments. I always appreciate it when y'all leave me a comment and a like. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate you, and I pray y'all have a blessed day. And until next time, y'all take care and keep thriving.